to our second episode of Maddie Wants to Know. Today we're going to be joined by the most amazing, the most nicest, the most positive person, Miss Betsy Spina. Now, let's get started. Hi, I'm Madison Akins, and today I'm going to be interviewing Miss Betsy Spina, all the way from the city of angels, Los Angeles. I think Miss Betsy might be an angel. Thank you for
You're the sweetest.
Betsy.
Thank you so much for having me. I think you are the angel. You are so incredible and so talented, and I am just so honored to be here with you today. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course, why not?
It's so much fun.
Miss Betsy, I know you've done a lot of jobs in the entertainment industry. So I wanted to start off with, what are some of those jobs you have done and some background information about you?
Oh man, that is such a great question. So I grew up in upstate New York, about an hour north of New York City, and I started taking dance class and voice lessons and acting classes. Gosh, I feel like I started dance first and then acting and singing came right afterwards. I probably started dance when I was like 4 or 5, and then singing and acting around like 7 or 8. And so I grew up doing all of that, and I took lessons in my hometown, but then I also would take the train down to New York City, and I did a lot of summer classes and acting camps and all different things in New York so that I could do acting classes there. And then it was time to apply for colleges, and I started looking at schools all over the country. And I actually ended up going to college out in California, and I studied music and theater. And so right after I graduated, I worked on a television show that was on ABC Family, which is now called Freeform. And that was really fun. I did that for about 3 seasons, and I loved it so much. And I had a music and theater background, so it was so cool to get to do TV and film stuff. I had never gotten to experience that before, and I completely fell in love with it and thought it was so cool. And it kind of had the same vibe as theater, in that it's everyone working together, to put on this magical show. So I just thought that was so much fun. So I worked on that show for the first 3 seasons. And then there was actually a writer's strike that happened. And when the writer's strike happened, people could only film whatever episodes had been written. So for the TV show that I was working on, we could only do whatever had been written. And after that, we had to take a break. And so at that time, I actually had friends that worked at Radio Disney, and they did live events with the road crew, and were like the street team. It had 2 different names. And so we would go out and do live events, and that was so much fun, because that also kind of felt like theater to me. We got to play games with kids and give away prizes and kind of sing and dance. So I did that for about a year, and then the television show came back. So I overlapped doing both of those. And then I actually kept asking about maybe doing voiceovers or working on the radio. And my boss was amazing. And the radio station for Radio Disney actually used to be based in Dallas, Texas, but they moved to Los Angeles. And so I got to join the on-air team. So then I was working in radio, and I really loved that. But I had always wanted to live in New York City proper, because I hadn't gotten to do that. Like I said, I took classes there growing up. So all that to say, I ended up leaving Los Angeles. I moved back to New York City. And while I was there, I did a whole bunch of auditions as well. I did some musical theater auditions, and I actually ended up booking a small role on a soap opera called One Life to Live. And that was really fun too, because again, I had never done any soap opera work. So it was really neat to get to do that. And the thing I loved most about soap opera work, that really felt like theater to me, because it is TV and film. So if you really mess up, you can, they'll do another take, you can do it again. But they're going through so many different pages of script every day that they are trying to get through it as fast as possible. So it kind of feels like theater, and that you're have that excitement of oh, I have to do this in just, one shot. So I really liked doing that. And then I also was doing more radio stuff in New York as well. I worked at a Christian radio station for a little bit. And then I worked at Sirius XM, and I worked with their country channel and their Christian channel, and the Today Show. They had a radio station as well. So that was really fun. And then finally, after that, Radio Disney launched a country channel, and they asked me to be the host of that. So then I moved back to Los Angeles to host Radio Disney Country. And here I am today. And I'm still doing some auditions and things for acting as well. That was such a long story. Sorry.
I never knew that it was actually in Dallas. That's so close to where I live.
Isn't that so cool?
5 hours away.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
You were talking about earlier on how you've done some training. What are some specific training that you've done?
Thank you for asking that. So, like I said, growing up, I did a lot of different summer classes and camps and weekend classes too. So, I studied at Lee Strasberg in New York City and the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I also did an improv school that I can't remember the name of. I don't think it's there any longer, but I really like doing improvisation. I think that is such a fun, great thing for people to learn to do because you just get to be creative and have fun. It's like you can't mess it up. And that's really fun. So, I did that. And then I also studied some Shakespeare. I studied with the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival, and that was really cool and fun. They would always like keep the regular Shakespearean text, but then put a modern spin on the shows. So they were like super, super fun to be a part of. So I did that. Yeah, and that was all when I was in high school. And I took voice lessons with a bunch of different people and dance training and things like that. And then I studied at Pepperdine University. That was where I went to college, and I studied music and theater.
That's awesome, like super awesome.
Thanks, Maddie.
So you said all these amazing roles that I can't even remember. There's too many. Which one has been your absolute favorite? It could be more than one.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's so hard to pick. I really loved getting to do One Life to Live, the soap opera that I was a part of. And I loved being a part of Greek, the show on ABC Family. I think like being just on set, I love so much, and being with a great casting crew. I don't know. I love like collaborating with other people. So I loved getting to do those things. And then I have loved being with Radio Disney Country. It's been so special. And I've gotten to meet so many amazing people, and all the country artists are just the nicest. And Maddie, you are going to love this story. When I was with Radio Disney Country, I got to do an interview at CMA Country Christmas, which is their Christmas show that they put on. So I thought like, oh, it's just going to be country artists, which I was very excited about. But do you know who was there?
Who?
Idina Menzel.
Oh, I saw that video of you interviewing Idina Menzel. I saw that one.
Maddie, I just feel like you would have understood. I was like losing my mind inside because I had wanted to meet Idina, I think since I was like 14 years old. Like my whole life I had wanted to meet Idina Menzel, and I had no idea that working at a country event, I would get to meet her. And I remember her team was going around and they were like, okay, everybody get ready. Like Idina's going to be coming through. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've loved Idina Menzel since she was in Rent. And they were all very excited. Anyways, I knew you would appreciate that because like you, I love musical theater so much. So anyways, that has been really amazing. I've loved all the different connections I've gotten to meet being a part of Radio Disney Country. And it's led me to people and places I never would have ever dreamed of. So those are some of my favorites.
Wow, that's like amazing.
Thanks, Maddie.
I know this sounds really weird, but I really like Rent too.
It's the best, right?
No,
it's so good.
Like, of course I bleep out those bad words, but it's all good.
To. That's right. But like the story of love and being there for each other, like that's so great.
Yeah, that's like the best.
Yeah.
Like, what could be better than that? Were your parents supportive of you in your choice?
Yes, that is a great question. My parents were always so supportive of me, but I think they also worried too. You know, it's like they were always so supportive, and gosh, my parents drove me to like a million lessons, as I was saying. And they were always so amazing to allow me to do all these summer camps and classes. And I think I will say the only thing was they were worried about me pursuing the arts and having to struggle. I think every parent worries about their children, you know, being a starving artist, and no parent wants their kid to go through anything hard. So I think they always wanted to make sure that I did have something to fall back on if I needed to, which I never wanted to have any sort of backup plan. I was like, I'm only going to do acting, but they really wanted to make sure that I had something else to fall back on. So that was why when I applied to colleges, they wanted to make sure that I applied to a school that wasn't just a conservatory, although there are so many amazing conservatories all around the country, but they wanted to make sure that I had, you know, something else that I could fall back on too. So that was, anyways, Pepperdine was one that was a liberal arts school. So I was still having to take English and math and science and languages and history and all of that, which I think was really great. I'm thankful that they encouraged me to do that as well. So they've always been so supportive, and they're amazing, but also they didn't ever want to see me hurting or struggling.
You were speaking about your college. What did you major in your college?
That is a great question. So when I first got there, I went in as a theater major, and I had to audition, which I loved getting to do. And I went in as a theater major, but then I learned, here's the thing. I really wanted to study musical theater, but Pepperdine didn't have a musical theater program specifically. They had music and theater. So I went as a theater major, but I was in concert choir because I loved to sing so much. And the summer after my freshman year of college, they actually had a special summer program where you could study abroad. And the music program went to Germany. And I always thought that sounded really cool. So I actually ended up going to that summer program, and I went away to Germany for the summer, and we got to sing and study abroad. And after I was there, I was like, okay, I just love this so much. So I ended up studying classical music when I came back, and I added that on to my major. So I studied theater and then classical music.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was, but it was so fun. Yeah, it was really fun.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Speaking of the past, how old were you when you decided to be in the entertainment industry?
Oh man. Well, I feel like 13 was actually when I saw Rent, and I was like, this show is amazing. These people are amazing. This is what I want to do. I feel like 13 was when I like really knew for sure, like this has to be my life. But like I said, I took classes, ever since I was little. So I've always really loved it. But I think like 13 was the age for me that I was like, this is it. So you're so far ahead of me already.
So, what are you thinking of doing in the future?
Ooh, that's a great question. There's so many things that I want to do. I would love to voice a character in a Disney movie one day. That's something that I would really love to do. I would still love to get to be on Broadway one day too. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but I'm like never going to let go of that dream, because I think you just have to keep dreaming big. So I would love to do, something on Broadway one day. And I'd love to do more acting roles as well, because I love acting and connecting with people and telling great stories and helping to tell other people's stories. So yeah, I think those are a couple things I'd like to do.
I also think it'd be awesome to be on an animated Disney show. Like,
Maddie, you should be. You would be perfect. Can I ask you a question?
Oh, of course.
Do you know what your favorite musical is, or is it too hard to pick because you love them all?
Pretty much love them all. What about you?
I feel that way too. I think like Rent was my first favorite, but I love Wicked, which I know you love. I love Newsies. Newsies is one of my favorites. Hamilton, obviously. Duh. And what else? I don't know. I like them all so much. I'm like you. I just love them.
I feel like I like all the newer ones, like Hamilton, Wicked, all those newer ones.
Yeah.
How has COVID affected you, and do you have any recommendations for kids like me during this time?
Man. Yeah. I think, for the entertainment industry, obviously it has been really hard. So many things have shut down, and, shows haven't been able to happen. I've been lucky in radio that I've been able to record things from home, and I can still do interviews with artists over Zoom. So in some ways it's been really amazing, because we have all this, I shouldn't say free time, because everyone's still busy, but it's easier to be able to connect with people, especially for artists who maybe would be on tour or, performing somewhere. And so the timing wouldn't work for them to come into our studio. Now we can connect over Zoom, which is cool, just like we're doing. So I feel like, we all miss getting to be doing live performances and live events and all that stuff together, but at least we get to connect in a special way over Zoom. So I'm so thankful for that. And I think advice for kids your age, just to be like kind to yourselves and to be kind to everyone around you, and patient with yourselves. Because I think it's hard. I know we all had some disappointments this year of things that we really wanted to do that we didn't get to do. And I think just remembering that there's still so much time. And if you have those dreams in your heart, those things will still happen. So just remembering to be patient and kind. And I think there are so many awesome things people can do online too. Like there are so many amazing workshops people can take, and you can still do like voice lessons over Zoom. And so I think there are ways to still do things to keep yourself encouraged, which I think is truly like that, and being kind are the most important things of all. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I agree with that so much.
Okay.
I thank God for Zoom.
It's the best, right?
We have some problems, but thank God for it.
Yes, absolutely.
Thing you've done on Zoom.
Ooh, my favorite thing I've done on Zoom. That's a good question. I think back at the beginning of all this craziness, maybe actually not that much in the beginning. Maybe it was like June. CMA, so the Country Music Association is CMA, and they usually do this really fun festival in Nashville in June, where like all the country artists come and they all perform. And so obviously this year that couldn't happen, but they did a really neat show that like kind of happened with Zoom and YouTube. And I got to interview Gabby Barrett, who was on American Idol, and she was awesome. And so that was really fun. And the whole event they put together, I felt like it was like so positive and great, and all the artists got to like pop on and perform songs or do interviews. So that was really special and fun. And I've loved just connecting with my friends, which has been neat. Like last night, I got to talk to two of my very best friends. We went to preschool together. So I call them my brothers because we've been friends since we were 3 years old. And we all hung out and we watched a Christmas movie together. And that was really fun and silly. So I think there are so many cool things you can do. And then again, like getting to watch workshops and things like that. I know the Actors Fund has done some really neat things. SAG is always putting on really neat workshops, and Actors Equity has done things. So it's fun to get to watch those webinars over Zoom too.
That does sound really, really fun.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing you've done over Zoom?
Oh my gosh. Probably the theater classes I get to do is really fun. Like, for example, I wouldn't have never gotten to do this. All the way from New Jersey, I get to have like a Zoom every week now with two instructors that are from New Jersey, and
Wow.
they get to work with me on my voice and everything. That's something I would never do.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know some of your favorite people you've met have been Idina Menzel, but what are some of the other people that you were like super excited to meet, or you just felt kind of great in the moment?
Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't get to interview this person, but I did wait outside of the stage door in New York to meet him with one of my best friends, and we still talk about it. We got to meet Jonathan Groff. And he is so nice and wonderful, and I just loved getting to meet him. I was so excited. So he is one of my favorites in the theater world that I've gotten to meet. I love Leslie Odom Jr. so much, and he did a book signing here in Los Angeles like 2 years ago, and I went to that and I got to meet him, and he was so nice, and I was so nervous. I like went to him and he was signing everybody's books, and I went up and I was like, "You're so great!" Like. I was so nervous, but he was really nice. And then in the country world, I've loved getting to meet like Keith Urban and Carrie Underwood and Luke Bryan, Cam, I love so much, and Maren Morris. They're all just like really nice, wonderful people. I can't say enough good things about all the country people. So yeah, everybody's been so great and wonderful. I feel really, really lucky. And actually, when I was back in New York too, one of my best friends and I did a YouTube show where we interviewed a lot of Broadway stars, or like up and coming Broadway stars. And that was really neat. So I liked getting to do that. And Danny Quadrino, who I think you probably know now, he was in Wicked and Newsies. We got to interview him, and I just love him so much. So he was really great too. So those are some of my favorites.
Now, I have one final question for you.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for kids that want to be in the entertainment business?
Man, these are such good questions. I think it's just so important to do what you love. And if it brings you joy, then you should keep doing it. And you shouldn't put too much pressure on yourself. I think sometimes we all put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect, or we have to get like the best parts or get into the best programs. But if you, at the end of the day, are just doing something that fills up your heart and your soul, that's all that matters. So I would say to keep singing, keep acting, keep dancing, take classes wherever you can, and just learn from whatever you're doing. Again, if you have a big part in a show, that's amazing, and you can learn from that. But even if you have a small part, or if you're working backstage, you can still be learning. In college, actually, part of our major was that we had to do stage crew for a certain number of shows. And it was so cool to get to do that, to like help build sets or to help get other people ready when they were about to go on stage and do makeup and hair. And I just think you can be learning from like literally anything that you do. So yeah, keep learning and growing, and take classes when and if you can, and just remember to have fun and not be too hard on yourself.
That is great advice that I will always remember.
You're so sweet.
I also really agree with it. You should keep singing, keep doing what you love, and even if you're not on stage or whatever you're doing, it's still fun. I really agree with that. Thank you so much for joining me, Miss Betsy. You're so amazing, and I love you so much. You're so encouraging. You are the best.
Maddie, you're the sweetest. I think you are the best. I think you're so talented, and I can't believe that I get to be friends with you and to know you and to watch you shine. I just think you are so talented and loving, and I know you're going to do so many incredible things because you've already done so many incredible things. So I can't wait to see what you do next. And I'm just so honored that you would ask me to be on your show. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Maddie.
Wasn't that so amazing? Wasn't she so nice? But before I end this episode, let me give you 3 takeaways. Always have fun and never be too hard on yourself. Number 2, make sure you love what you do. And number 3, make sure you learn from any part you have, even if it's the smallest part. Thank you for joining me today on Maddie Wants to Know. See you next time.